And don't change Yotzer to Otsar or Otzer. Leave it as Yotzer, potter. It's given to the potter for the potter's field. Wow, the price of betrayal, 30 pieces of silver. You say, but where's this? I don't understand this reference to Jeremiah. What's he referring to in the book of Jeremiah? I believe the best case you can make is that by quoting Jeremiah, he's referring you back to Jeremiah, the 19th chapter. Jeremiah, the 19th chapter, a prophecy before the elders and the priests of the destruction of Jerusalem because of innocent blood. In fact, one scholar who just wrote his entire book, Michael Knowles, on the Jeremiah in Matthew's Gospel, an entire book just on that subject. Not only does the scholar say that Matthew wants you to remember the motif of the rejected prophet and how, what was Jeremiah prophesying? The destruction of Jerusalem. What is Yeshua prophesying? The destruction of Jerusalem. What brought about the final destruction? Shedding of innocent blood. Here, the ultimate shedding of innocent blood, the blood of the perfectly righteous Messiah. And Knowles, carefully going through this, and again, he's not a fundamentalist scholar. He would freely entertain liberal ideas and interpretations of Scripture. And yet he finds 6 points of commonality. I went through it on my own, came up with my list, and found out it was his same list of six common points between Jeremiah 19 and Matthew 27. And even the formula that is used here when he cites the fulfillment of the prophets, it's identical to Matthew 2:17, the only other time he quotes Jeremiah in his whole book, which this scholar takes as meticulous and intentional. So what's the point? The point is the betrayal of the Messiah, the shedding of innocent blood, the complicity of the priests and the elders, the prophecy of the coming destruction of Jerusalem, all tie in with this momentous event of the betrayal of the shepherd prophesied by Zechariah and spoken of in an earlier time with the destruction of Jerusalem once before, spoken of by Jeremiah. And the goal here is by saying Jeremiah, you wonder and think, what's he talking about? The passage is clearly Zechariah. What's he talking about? Then you go and you dig and you look at it. Not to try to prove the point. He's not quoting this to prove, therefore Jesus must be the Messiah. He's saying, because we know him to be the Messiah and we're looking back and the whole of Scripture is pointing to him. Look at this. As it happened to Jeremiah, it happens to the Messiah. And it happened with the first destruction of the first temple. Now it's going to happen with the destruction of the second temple. And as the shedding of innocent blood was major, and the betrayal was major, and the theme of innocent blood was major, here we have it again. I have betrayed innocent blood. The exact same words as are found as a major theme in Jeremiah. I'll give you one last example very, very quickly, and then we'll close. And I go through these simply to say there are good, solid answers. I read other answers, and I think, you're just trying to come up with an answer. You're just twisting it. You're just giving some cheap answer that can easily be refuted. People will, when I taught a class on this recently with my third-year students at Fire School of Ministry, and just going through some basic areas of Jewish apologetics, they'd give me all their answers, and I'd just refute them. No, it doesn't work. Doesn't work. That doesn't work. That won't work. That won't work. Nope, there's a better answer. We're not looking for cheap answers to ward off somebody attacking. We just love the truth. And that's why for years and years and years, as long as the person is credible, a scholar or a rabbi, anti-missionary, let's have public debate and dialogue. Please, let's do it. I welcome it. There are some anti-missionaries online that wanted me to get into a bulletin board discussion. You post one thing, and the next thing you got like 800 comments surrounding your one, and you get nowhere fast. And they said, why don't you do this? I said, well, actually, I don't have the time. I'm involved in lots of different fronts and lots of different areas of ministry. I don't have the time to get into these bulletin board discussions. Plus, people start to get into personal attack, which brings the whole thing down. And thirdly, you can't even get a point done because you get into so many tangents. I said, why not? We'll find a way, Pal Talk or some way or something, and some other means, you know, whatever you suggest, and we'll do a live 1 hour or 2 hour, me, or it's one of you, or 3 or 4, whatever, and we'll do it live so everyone can listen. Well, you're just deceptive. It's just because you're a good talker. That's why you won't put it in writing. I said, I've got 1,500 pages I put in writing here when it's all published. 1,500 pages. Anyway, we finally came up with terms. I said, okay, tell you what, how about you post your position, send it to me. I'll write my response, send it to you. We'll post them on my website and your anti-missionary website. I'll notify my email list, and then you respond to me, I respond. And then when it's all done, then people can dive in. That's what we're going to do. And we set it up. They sent me there. They worked on it. They got a team of 5. They worked on it, and sent it to me. They said, we're not quite done yet, but we want you to have what we've done so far. And I thought, yeah, they're giving me like free points here. I mean, this is... So I sent it to an ultra-Orthodox rabbi friend. I said, take a look at this. And he said, you know, Mike, they're giving you free points. I said, I understand it. I was ready to dive in on this one. This was enjoyable. And he said, do you mind if I send it to so-and-so, this other anti-missionary? And he sent it to him, and the guy looked at it, was not happy with it at all, and they ended up strongly counseling these guys, don't go ahead and do it. Don't do it. It's not that we've been afraid to bring. Whoever has the truth comes into the light. Come on, you ate a cookie that you weren't supposed to eat, and it had chocolate, and you got chocolate on your hand. You know, and mom comes in, and did you have a cookie? You know, your hands are behind your back, as opposed to when you didn't. No, check my hands, smell my breath. Nothing, zero, I didn't do it. You come into the light. One of the things that indicts someone is when they run. Why are you running if you're not guilty? Come and get fingerprinted, get your DNA sample. We're not running from anything because we've got nothing to run from. So there's one last example. Matthew 21. Now we know for a fact from several citations that Matthew understood Hebrew. We know it from Matthew 2:23 with the Nazarene reference, which is a play on Netzer. We know it from Matthew 8:16 and 17, where he's quoting Isaiah 53, and he doesn't follow the Septuagint. He doesn't follow any known Targumic tradition. He translates it literally. We know it here in Matthew 27, when he doesn't follow the Jewish interpretive traditions of his day, but translates the Hebrew literally. So it's unlikely to say that he was so ignorant of basic Hebrew structure that he completely blew this. So Yeshua sends for the donkey and the colt by her, Matthew 21. And then they bring the 2 animals. This took place to fulfill what was spoken through the prophet. Say to the daughter of Zion, see your king comes to you, gentle, riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey. Well, anyone who understands Hebrew parallelism, the most basic understanding of Hebrew, knows that this is not a prophecy of a donkey and a colt, but rather of a donkey, specifically a colt, the foal of a donkey. So Matthew supposedly was so ignorant of Hebrew that when he saw this, he said, oh, this is actually a prophecy of 2 animals. And that's why he, among the gospel authors, mentions 2 animals. Well, we know actually from other evidence that he was not ignorant of Hebrew. So what could it be? It could simply be one of these things where